It is a beautiful Friday morning, September 26th, 2025. It's 11 a.m. My name is Jimmy Kaufman, and welcome to the SGA Weekly updates on this beautiful Friday morning. I'm here joined by two guests. We're getting judicial today. We have the Attorney General, Katie Albertson, joined by the Deputy Attorney General, Josh Moppin. How are we doing, guys?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm energetic, all right? Just opened up my bang energy this morning. I'm ready to get judicial. How are we feeling?
We might be able to help.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Well, awesome. Okay, so Attorney General over here, Deputy Attorney General over here. Give me a little bit, Katie, we'll start with you. Give me a little bit of an idea of what it means to get judicial for the Attorney General and what exactly your role is in the wider Student Governing Association.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have the amazing opportunity this year to serve as Kansas State University Student Governing Association Attorney General, which is essentially the head of the judicial branch. So for concept, for those of you who don't know, it's basically the same kind of position as the student body president, but for the executive branch. So there's three branch heads for the three different branches, and then I head the judicial, obviously, with Josh's help. I have absolutely loved the opportunity to get to kind of explore this. I actually served in the Deputy Attorney General position last year, so I was able to kind of step up and take on the Attorney General role this year. And yeah, I've absolutely loved my time in student government, and yeah.
Very cool. So you worked as Deputy Attorney General last year.
Yes, sir.
How's he doing so far? Scale of 1 to 10, how's he doing?
He's doing great.
That's
He's
great.
Definitely a 10.
What are the differences that you see from, your time being the Deputy Attorney General to now your time as Attorney General? What are the differences in maybe the feeling of responsibility for you or just the day-to-day?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think I'm in a super unique position where I was absolutely blessed to get to work with two really great people. When I served as Deputy Attorney General compared to Attorney General, it always felt more like a partnership compared to kind of a hierarchy thing. I worked with Andrew last year, and obviously I get to work with Josh this year, and they've both just been instrumental in helping me, and as well as collaborating and getting to work together. So responsibility-wise, it doesn't feel that different because Josh is so amazing at splitting it 50-50 with me. But it does make me laugh sometimes when I get emails that are like, we can't move forward without your approval. And I'm like, why?
And you're like, oh, yeah, they took the deputy off my name.
Exactly, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let's get to the deputy. Josh, what were you last year? Now that you've become Deputy Attorney General now, what were you last year that then took you to this place?
So I first got involved with the Student Review Board just in general. I was just a member of the Student Review Board, and then after that is when I kind of came into the position and I applied for Deputy Attorney General. Thanks to Katie and Andrew, I really enjoyed it and kind of just stepped up in that role. But that's where I first came from, and now, of course, Deputy Attorney General.
Awesome. And what are some of your duties now as Deputy Attorney General? Like, what are some of the things day-to-day that you are doing to help the SGA?
Yeah, so for the Student Review Board, that mainly deals with the cases that we get on a weekly basis. So that is like whenever we have a case, a potential violation of the Student Code of Conduct, we sit in and hear those hearings each week. Now, coming into the Deputy Attorney General, this is more involved with dealing with the other branch heads, working with Katie, kind of doing all the logistic aspects of it, rather than just sitting in on those cases.
Awesome. Okay. So you guys say that you sit in on these Code of Conduct violations. Do you get robes? Is that part of it?
No, but we should.
Okay. Step 1, get the judicial branch robes.
Yes.
Is anyone a judicial branch without robes? That's what I've always thought. You know what I mean? No, I'm kidding. Obviously, very important stuff you guys are doing for the SGA, but I would call the judicial branch of SGA kind of the unsung hero of all of the Student Governing Association. So from both of your perspectives, describe to me what the judicial branch does as a branch for all of, like, not just SGA, but for all of the campus and the community.
Yeah, I can kind of touch on that. We get called the Illuminati a lot, so but it's just because we work with private student information that obviously can't just be given out and exposed to everybody. So our branch is falls on the more confidential side, so we don't get to talk much about what we get to do, but I can kind of talk you through what Josh and I oversee.
If there was one piece of private information that you couldn't share to the public that you want to share, what would it be, and share it right now to the public? No? Okay, sorry.
No.
Go on. Cool. Thought that would work.
I don't want to get fired.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I'll allow it. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, essentially, we kind of have 3 pillars of our branch, which is Student Review Board, which is what Josh kind of touched on, that's where we hear all of our alleged code of conduct violations. And then from there, we also have Student Tribunal, which is called together for if a Student Review Board case was ever appealed, as well as if there's a needed interpretation of any of the student governing documents. So that can be called by the president as well as the Speaker of the Student Senate. From there, we kind of have a third kid that no one likes, which is the Parking Appeals Board. I know, I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's getting real now.
Yeah.
You just made it real for a lot of these students.
Essentially, we get to appoint students to sit in on those and approve or deny appeals, or valid appeals. Not valid appeals don't go through our board.
Okay.
But we don't work much with parking services, but we do give them those names and those students to kind of help move along that process, because they get a lot of appeals all the time.
I can only imagine. I mean, I saw parking this morning, right? Parking is, I saw the parking services, I should say, this morning. But parking's been a big kind of, I guess I would say, hot button issue, but it is everywhere, right? I mean, this is, that's something that you could go to any college campus. You go to Washburn, and they'd be like, I can't park anywhere, and they're parking outside the Capitol. So, Josh, I'll turn to you. Go into it a little bit further than that. What are some other things that maybe you specifically do with the rest of the community, or things that your side of the judicial branch handles?
Yeah, so again, Katie and I really work together, probably 50-50. That's our main goal. We do deal with a lot of the other branch heads, kind of communicating with that. We'll do breakfasts with Dr. Linton, the vice president, Dr. Lane, the vice president, every other week, which is a really great experience to kind of work with the faculty, really kind of let them know what we're doing on our end, and kind of communicate with some of those individuals. Now, community-wise, that's really just involved with the students. Any kind of code of conduct, that's what we kind of see. Okay,
yeah, so it's a lot about the code of conduct. Now, you said you're the Illuminati of the SGA. You deal with a lot of hidden information. Secret stuff is what we'll call it.
Right.
You mess with a lot of secret stuff. How do you apply maybe the stuff that's there? How do you apply that knowledge, I guess, to the wider student base, or maybe what you do with the code of conduct?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when we get cases, I can talk to you a little bit about what those cases really commonly entail. It's no mystery that we live on a college campus, and very typically our
What? Oh, sorry. No.
I know, shocked. It's very typical that the cases we see have something to do with alcohol, whether that's a minor in possession, minor in consumption, or even a driving under the influence is super common cases that we have a lot of the time. So kind of taking into account those students, why they kind of did what they did, and them getting to tell their perspective and their side of the story gives me and Josh, as well as our branch and our advisors, a lot of perspective on maybe what students are dealing with and different ways that we can help them, as well as what the genuine issues on campus are that are putting our students in danger and like violating their safety, essentially.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's very noble, because it's one of those, everyone hears about the ever-present MIP, right? It's the danger that plagues the young nation, right? But it's one of those. I think a lot of people forget it's safety-based, right? This is a thing that is supposed to promote safety more than just like trying to be the boogeyman, right? So it's interesting. I got to talk with Kylie Temple, Cooper Hillman last week, and they work a lot in outreach and engagement. How does something like working with the code of conduct maybe intersect with outreach and engagement and specifically with conduct violations? How does maybe trying to like teach kids safety without making them feel like they're walking on eggshells, maybe?
Right.
I'll kind of touch on that. I think the main goal of the student review board and kind of hearing these code of conduct violations is it's not a way of getting you in trouble with the university. That's no way the intention. It's a way to keep the university safe. We want to try to develop these individuals who possibly had some struggles, kind of get them on a good path going forward, and allow them to have some of their best time at K-State.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys view as I guess the proper ratio of punishment and rehabilitation and something like that.
Right. Well, when it comes to our sanctioning process, so actually, just so you know, Josh and I are actually non-voting members on the board. So our judges are the ones who have a say in kind of what happens to the student.
Do they get robes?
No, but
Oh for 2.
I'm
Oh
sure
for
they would
2.
love it.
We'll work on that. I'll propose that in the next meeting. Anyways.
Awesome.
Go on.
But so we don't get a huge say in kind of what happens. Obviously, we kind of guide the process and are really there to help. But I think that the main goal and what we really try to instill in our judges before they have hearings is that we are in looking out for the best interest of our students and of the students on campus. And this is more of what we think is going to benefit the student best compared to a crime and punishment kind of a thing.
Right.
So we have a lot of education-based sanctions that kind of allow for students to take a step back and kind of reflect and teach themselves where the line is and how to stay safe compared to banning them from campus.
Going willy-nilly and then just being like, you're done. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because there's no learning in that, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, and that's a noble cause, right? Because there's a lot of, it's a good thing to promote that because a lot of people, they view that as just like the no fun whatnot. You know what I mean? But it's not about having no fun. It's about having safe fun, which is always the most important part, right? Now, you say that you guys help guide the process, but you're not voting members. What does it mean to guide that process? Are you more like a referee of the situation? Are you kind of keeping the rule book? What does that look like?
I think that's actually a really good way to put it. If you want to touch on that.
Yeah, it's really just kind of being there as a support for both the student and for our judges. Again, if they need help with possible, if there's maybe a different circumstance, kind of or situation that's more unique, kind of helping to kind of get them to give their best interpretation and kind of find what is best for the student, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you're helping guide what's the next step here, and making sure it's within the rules. Because the one thing I think people would think is like there's a judicial branch, there's no laws specific to K-State, but there is, and that's the code of conduct, right?
Yes, all 23 lines of it.
All 23 lines. What is Give me. You recently made changes to the code of conduct, yes?
Yes.
Go into that a little bit more. What are some of the new things we can expect in this code of conduct?
Yeah, absolutely. I can kind of touch on that a little bit. I had the opportunity, obviously, because I was deputy last year. I got to work with the previous Attorney General, Andrew, to work through and update that code, which is a process that happens every 5 years. So I was just so lucky that it fell on a year that I was serving. But we kind of honed in a lot on, I'm sure everyone's talking about this right now just because of what week it is, but hazing is a big issue on campus, and it's something that we really dived into and explored. And we really wanted to make our code of conduct competitive compared to all the other Big 12 schools. So we looked into KU and a bunch of other schools in the area and kind of directly compared them, Texas Tech, all of those, to kind of explore what makes our campus different and better compared to other campuses as well, and the best way that we can kind of mirror that process and ensure that our code of conduct is the most representative and the most helpful for our students. So we talked about doxing as well as hazing, and then just any update to language to make it more clear and easier to understand for our students.
Yeah, I mean 100%. And hazing is one of those things, you again, have your fun. Hazing is insane to me. Every time I hear the word hazing, like I'm like, how did we come up with this? Like, what is the point of this? So, and again, that's another noble cause, right? Because hazing can affect, there are cases where hazing leads to something much worse than just a bad experience, right? They can lead to no more experiences. You know what I mean? So, you said you dove into that a little bit more, and you tried to, I guess, figure out the minutia of stuff like hazing. What is it maybe that you found that you're able to share about hazing that you're wanting to make changes to?
Yeah, I think it was just clarifying the language. I think that hazing's difficult because there's a really strong debate on how to define it, and I think that we just kind of looked at how other universities were defining it and what would work for our university compared to others. I couldn't tell you specific language on what we changed, but clarification was just really big this next round coming up, just to ensure that we are able to, again, protect our students and they know what would be considered a violation compared to not being considered a violation.
Yeah, 100%. What to you guys would be like, what is the importance of having these things be clear as possible to, like, in your opinion? What is the, because you could just say, hey, no hazing or something like that, but what value is there to creating paragraphs out of that, just 2-word sentence?
I think the most important part is knowing kind of when something that's happening is either right or wrong. So like depending on kind of the situation, being as clear as possible, kind of outline, again, like I said, what is right and wrong, and letting them know and understand how, like what they can do about it going forward.
Yeah, 100%. Is there anything that you guys are currently working on right now that maybe you want to share to the public? What is like something going on right now in the judicial branch?
I would say the biggest thing we're kind of dealing with right now and trying to, obviously with football season, we have cases keeping us plenty busy. So thank you. Stay safe at the home game this weekend.
Please, UCF tomorrow on Wildcat 91.9. Shameless plug. Josh, what about you?
Scripts.
Yeah, we kind of worked through and revised all of our outlines for those hearings, kind of making sure everything is clear as best for our judges. We also, last year, I'm not sure if you touched on it, last year we combined the 2 branches for the members, so we used to have both individuals separate out for tribunal and SRB, and now we have 12 members that all can rotate through either SRB or tribunal.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, that's very cool. A lot of stuff happening in the judicial branch. And today we're keeping it judicial. Coming up, we're going to be talking a little bit more with Katie Albertson and Josh Maupin on the SGA Weekly update on Wildcat 91.9. You belong. Keeping it judicial on this Friday morning, September 26, 2025. My name is Jimmy Kaufman. Welcome back to the SGA Weekly Update. I am joined by the Attorney General, Katie Albertson, and the Deputy Attorney General, Josh Maupin, mopping the floor, of the judicial branch, the presidents of the judicial branch, basically. Now, we talked a lot about what you guys are up to, but I want to get to know you guys just a little bit more. Was the first segment too much? Was it good?
It was great.
We're feeling good. We're feeling
feeling
feeling jazzed,
good.
right? Waking up a little bit. I'm about 25% of my bang energy, so I'm getting amped, guys. I'm getting amped. So I want to talk, Katie. Let's start with you. You were Attorney General this year. You were Deputy Attorney General the year before. Mm-hmm. How did you find yourself at K-State to begin with?
Yeah. Well, I am originally from Kansas City, so when it came to picking colleges after high school, I applied to multiple different places, but I was accepted as a Menard Family Scholar in the College of Business, and it was an offer I couldn't really turn down just because of the opportunities that came with it. And then I came to K-State, fell in love with the place, and I've been here ever since.
Love it. So you were from Kansas City?
Yes.
Where in Kansas City?
I'm from the Overland Park. I'm from Stillwell, which is a small town right outside of Overland Park.
I'm from Olathe. So
where'd
that's
you go to
that's
high school?
Olathe South.
I was going to say, I don't know if you want to say that.
No, that's fine. Go Falcons, baby. Olathe South. Let's go.
I was at Blue Valley High.
Yeah. Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Bryce Nornberg, Jordan Allen. Ever heard of them? Yeah, they're Olathe South grads. Thank me later. I told them to come here. I'm kidding. Anyway, that's very cool. So you got a scholarship. You found yourself at K-State. So did you grow up a K-State fan at all, or was there any K-State in your family? Or
No.
No. Oh, wow.
No, my family wasn't big into college, so we didn't necessarily align to KU, and we didn't necessarily align to K-State either. So it was kind of a toss-up on where I decided to go, and then I chose K-State just because of the opportunities. So.
Yeah. Boom. Take that, KU. See, the KU didn't win me over either. I grew up house divided. So
Did you?
I did too.
Yeah, big K-State dad, big KU mom. But K-State's just got that sauce, you know what I mean? Speaking of sauce, Josh, how did you find yourself at Kansas State University?
Yeah, so growing up, kind of similar but opposite. My mom was K-State, my dad was KU. Other than that, I applied to a bunch of schools throughout the Midwest, toured them all. Really loved K-State. I'm also from Kansas City, so
We're in Kansas City.
Leawood area.
Okay, cool,
Mhm.
cool.
Yep. But first coming to K-State, I felt like everyone I met, I really enjoyed. Everyone was super nice, so I think that's kind of what initially drew me to K-State.
100%.
Yeah.
Something I always say to any, freshman or anyone that I work with that maybe is new to the university. This university is ranked 8th in the Princeton Review in quality of life, and that's no joke. That's no joke, right? Every year that I've had here, I know we're all seniors in this room, so you only get one more year of us, guys. Sorry,
Hey.
but it is truly a really fun experience at K-State. It's just good quality of life.
Right.
It is good mentally to be here is the best way I can describe it. You know what I mean? It's good on the
100%.
brain.
Yeah.
Especially we all come from Kansas City. I want to hear your guys' perspective on this, especially with the I talked to Kylie and Cooper last week, and I found it interesting because Kylie, she was from Oregon, right? So she found herself coming all the way to Kansas. We are a little bit more going to kind of our backyard, so to say,
Right.
just coming here. But the jump from Kansas City to Manhattan can be a big one because you go from a big pond to a smaller pond. What was that transition like for you guys coming to K-State?
I thought it was really, really interesting. Something that really threw me off was I guess I had never processed in my head like people coming from small towns.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I had a friend tell me one time that he came to Manhattan to shop. And I was so taken back by that because I was like, what do you mean you come? There's nothing here. And that was it. It's given me so much perspective meeting some of my closest friends are from like the smallest towns in Kansas now. And I remember I visited one of my friends this summer for the 4th of July, and like her neighbor was her cousin, and I was really just like taken back. And it's just provided me with a lot of perspective of how we're all from Kansas, but it's such a different world being in Kansas City compared to rural Kansas. And I've learned so much about agriculture and farming that I never thought I would ever care about.
It's important. Hey, crop judging.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We're champions over here. But that's a big thing, right? A game to play for anyone out there. Go to any class and ask everyone in that class who was how many kids were in their graduating high school
Yes.
class. It'll shock you. I had 450 in mine. But I'm meeting people who had 20, 90, 120, sometimes more than 450, which I'm like, whoa. But that changes your outlook on things, because then it's better to learn people when you know where they come from, right? Josh, how has that transition kind of been for you now 4 years into it?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with what Katie said. I think getting to know all this small town individuals is awesome. But I also, two of my best friends, one's from Florida, one's from Chicago. I've loved how kind of seeing their perspective on how much they love K-State just from growing up with it, stuff like that. Even though they live halfway across the country, still coming back down to the Little Apple is really, really cool to hear.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a little special place, guys. Special place. There's a reason. Any place with a nickname is a special place. That's what I say all the time. Now, I want to get into a little bit more, the process of getting involved with SGA, because, there are a lot of people who I think don't really know much about it, right? And then there are some people who know about it but don't know how to get involved if maybe they want to. So
Right.
starting with you, Josh, give me the story of how you came to be a part of not only the SGA but the judicial branch specifically.
Yeah, so I was on the executive committee for a couple other organizations, and I loved kind of the involvement with just being a member. Through that, I actually saw that the Student Review Board applications came out, and I first kind of got interested in it and just applied, not really knowing much about it. After that year, I really loved the organization and all the individuals within it, and that's kind of what led me to Deputy Attorney General.
What is that jump from review board to a deputy attorney general in terms of workload?
It's definitely a lot more involved, which is a really great experience. I think we would meet maybe once a week for SRB, but Attorney General being a lot more involved with the other branch heads, with Katie, with advisors, which have been really, really cool to see.
Yeah, awesome. Katie, what about you? How did you get to be the AG?
So dramatic.
Right.
I applied for the Quest Honorary Freshman Program when I first came to K-State, and I was matched with a mentor, and her name was Hattie Polson, and she served as the Attorney General at the time. She was in Blue Key and then obviously served as the Attorney General, and just from getting to know her, I got to know so many opportunities on campus and all these different things. And she kind of led me to the judicial branch and showed me kind of what that was. And then I actually kind of applied on the whim for the judicial board because I'm a pre-law student, and so I thought it would be good for my resume. And then I've never told this story, so it's kind of embarrassing. But
Oh, let's go.
yeah.
New story. Only here at Wildcat 91.9.
I got to the end of the application and it asked if you were interested in any leadership positions, and I was like, oh sure, I think it'd be really fun. And then I read all the descriptions and I chose chair and chancellor of the chair of the student review board and chancellor of the tribunal because I didn't have any SGA experience, so I didn't think deputy was very applicable. And then I sat down in my interview and they were like, oh, you're interested in the deputy attorney general position, and I was like, oh no. And it turned out I had clicked the wrong thing, and I don't know if it was God or Willie the Wildcat, but then I was selected to serve as deputy attorney general with no SGA experience, which was definitely kind of difficult coming into that role. But I'm immensely grateful for my mistake, and now I get to sit here as attorney general.
Wow. So you clicked the wrong thing, and it turned into your job for now 2 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is awesome.
I know.
That is super cool. So how did that go? Was she like, oh, you wanted to be deputy attorney general, and you were like, no, and she's like, well, do you wanna? You're like, you can.
So I had clicked like deputy attorney general and chair, and so your interview was different based on those questions, so I had already prepped for the questions for tribunal and chair, and so when they started asking me the questions for DAG, I was like, oh. And I was really thrown off, but I mean I got through it, and I must have said something right. So.
Well, that's all. I mean, good, right?
Right.
No mistakes, just happy accidents. Shout out
Right.
Bob Ross. Now you said that I want to go back because you said freshman year you were part of Quest,
Mm-hmm.
right? Quest is something I think not enough people know about.
Oh my gosh, I agree.
Quest is something I didn't know about until like a couple weeks ago.
Oh.
It's not really advertised as much here at K-State. Go into what Quest is, because I think Quest is very important.
Right. So Quest is a freshman honorary program that is ran by Blue Key, which is the senior honorary program. It is one of the most amazing opportunities that I think that K-State has to offer. So you go through this interview process, which is one of the most interesting interview processes I've ever been through as an 18-year-old. I had no idea what was going on, but it was really rigorous and honestly super difficult, but it led to this really nice outcome of you getting to be put into this class of freshmen. I think there were 36 of us, maybe somewhere around there, usually around the 40 range, and you get partnered with these seniors, these outstanding seniors, and you get to just see so much of the university. I know we toured Bill Snyder Stadium. I got to see like the nuclear power plant. We got to tour Bramlage as well. I've met so many interesting people. I met the president and the first lady as a freshman, which was really fun. We got to eat brunch at their house, and it is a really, really immersive program that I think should be advertised to all of the freshmen, because it led me to so many opportunities on campus, and I got to meet so many amazing people through it.
Yeah. You said you got to go eat at the Pres Res?
Yes.
That's what we call it, the Pres Res, by the way.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Is it cool?
Yeah.
It's
very
cool.
fancy.
I mean, it's pretty cool.
I mean, come on.
Now, Josh, you said that you were working something else before you decided to work on the student review board. What were the other things that you were doing, and what other committees were you a part of?
I was actually involved with, I was the vice president of scholarship for my fraternity, so I kind of had dealt with some kind of academic but helped with basically working through grades for a bunch of individuals. Through that kind of got me introduced to the process of kind of hearings, kind of judicial, kind of basically trying to work with another individual to get them where they want to be. So I felt like that was kind of what initially drew me to the judicial branch, and what I feel like is kind of compares to what I was doing before and what I'm doing now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. No, and you mentioned you're in Greek life. Are you both in Greek life?
No.
No Greek life. Okay. So you work in Greek life, and we talked a lot about hazing.
Yeah.
What? So kind of go into, working on things like hazing while being in a fraternity. What are kind of, I guess, the mixes of work in social life that you see in working in those things? Maybe almost a conflict of interest. Not that you're interested in hazing, obviously.
No, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go into that a little bit more.
No, it's definitely really cool to see it on both two sides, if that makes sense. Being able to both try to work towards a good experience for everybody, while also experiencing certain things with that kind of group and individual, being able to implement those and bring it back to my members and stuff like that. It's definitely been really cool on both sides.
How are you able to kind of take maybe the experiences that you've had in Greek life and help out with put that into what you do on the code of conduct with hazing? Like, how are you able to take the experiences and maybe the people that you meet and take their perspectives into account on something like this?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely been really cool to both get to know individuals from the Greek housing, but also possibly if they are involved in Greek life, I can understand their perspective. Maybe if they did violate a code of conduct, stuff like that, really creates another level of like sympathy or understanding on their end.
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. Awesome. Well, guys, this is something, both being from the KC area, right? Come to K-State. Josh, you came from college house. You did not come, Katie, from a college house. What does something like, you guys talk about how, especially in the college football season, you get a lot of code of conduct stuff. From both of your perspectives, what is, the value of college sports, and how would you like to maybe see it become a safer place for students, maybe in the student section and at the tailgates?
Yeah, I can kind of touch on that a bit. I think that K-State football and college sports in general is a huge reflection of the attitude and the family that kind of comes from being at Kansas State, and I think that includes all aspects of it. So whether it's the actual game or the pregame, as well as the tailgates and all of that, people can get caught up in it. But it also creates the environment that we all know and love. So I think that there's a strong line to walk, or like a hard line to walk, where we want everyone to relax and have fun and really just have a good time, but also just stay safe. And I think that understanding that the priority is always safety and our students will kind of change the notion on us looking bad or negative or wanting to implement rules and regulations compared to just staying safe. And that goes for being in the student section at games and all of that jazz too. It's a desire for everyone to stay safe and make it home safe as well, is really what our ultimate goal is.
100%. Josh, your perspective here.
Yeah, I think the game atmosphere is another level of like camaraderie for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, I think is one of the very crucial aspects of the K-State experience. I look back and those are some of my best and most fun times. But again, it isn't to regulate fun, anything like that. Student code of conduct, that's never the intention. It's, again, like Katie was saying, safety is the biggest aspect that we want to bring to the students, and that's kind of the main goal with the student code of conduct.
Yeah, 100%. I like what you said about, K-State sports being a lot of the best memories. I mean, we were all freshmen the year that Tang, started here, Elite 8 run. I don't know about you guys, but I rushed the field against Oklahoma State. I stormed the court against KU, all in the same year. And those are some of my best memories, right? Halloween weekend, Will Howard going nuclear on Oklahoma State. Like that's some great stuff. Shout out Mike Gundy, his recent firing. But no, those are very important. But the key thing is, in those things, I always valued stay safe. Don't get caught up in it too much, because the thing with K-State that I've always appreciated is I've always had fun, but I've never felt like things were getting out of hand.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's the key. That's the key to really all college campuses, but some don't do it as well as K-State does.
Yeah.
For the idea of working with students in that way, how much do you guys work with campus police directly, if at all?
Yeah, we actually work with campus police a lot, so I don't know. I can kind of say this, but if you are wanting to file like alleged violation, students are allowed to file that on other students if they feel that they've been in violation of the code of conduct, as well as we will have teachers file it on students and students file it on teachers, and anyone can file it on anyone. Essentially, they would just make you the respondent versus the complainant of our case. But very often we'll have officers at KSU PD report that and be essentially the complainant for our, or it would be the respondent for our case.
Yeah, 100%.
We work with them a lot.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Well, one final thing while we're still on K-State, the campus, everything. What's your favorite part of campus? Just keep it as simple as that.
I would say mine is just the grounds. I feel like anytime I walk on campus, it's like always like pristine. That's like I think my favorite part.
Especially as we just got the fall equinox. These, for any newcomers listening, when these leaves start to change and they start to fall, this campus elevates.
Yeah,
I truly believe that. Katie, what about you?
I have two. I think my first one is Bosco Plaza. I think it's a really, really lovely area where you get to see so many students working and students expressing themselves, as well as just a bunch that's happening on campus. And then nobody make fun of me for this, please. My other favorite is, because I'm kind of a nerd, is the Harry Potter room in the library.
Boom. Yep. Great room. Great room is awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody who's touring the campus or whatever, or any people, like any, friends of friends or something that are like, hey, I might want to come to K-State, I always show them the great room. Because the great room rocks just to go in. Like, even I don't even study there because I don't like studying in somewhere where I know my headphones are going to fill the room. I listen to music pretty loud. But I just love walking through and be like, whoa.
Yeah.
No,
Gorgeous.
that's a very good choice.
Yes.
That is a very good choice. Well, coming up next, we're going to be talking a little bit more about K-State, a little bit more about SGA, and maybe even some thoughts on President Linton's master plan. All of that and more is coming up here on the SGA Weekly Update on Wildcat 91.9. You belong. Having fun on this Friday morning, September 26, 2025. It's the SGA Weekly Update. My name is Jimmy Kaufman, your host, joined by my two friends keeping it judicial, the Attorney General, Katie Albertson, and our Deputy Attorney General, Josh mopping the floor. That's the nickname. If you ever see him on campus, you go, is that Josh mopping the floor?
Heck yeah.
And then he'll be like, heck yeah, that's me. What's up? I'm a future dentist. And that's true. I didn't even make that up. That's very true. We're here. We teased it. We were talking about it. Let's get a little bit more into it. Today on the Collegian, the front page, the Kedzie shift, the master plan. Big time plan. Okay, a lot of things, a lot of changes constantly happening at Kansas State University. Josh, Katie, I don't know, have you ever gone back to old yearbooks at the 5th floor of the Hale Library?
I can't say I have.
Gotta say, there's something I love about K-State history, and I don't know what it is. I just really like old collegiate history. So there's a couple times, me and my roommate of what we're going on 3 years now, my friend Gage, Nightcap. Anyways, there's one time last year, we both went. There's a 5th floor of Hale Library for those of you who don't know. Little secret, little free game I can give you there. But up there are, you can like check out kind of, but just like you can't really leave the room with them. But they're old Royal Purple yearbooks from any year past. Looked at some from 1904, 1909, 1945, which was the one that I want to talk about because in there they kind of had their own master plan. They showed they basically announced a bunch of different changes they were making to the campus back in 1945. A couple of those, they were adding a student union. The same student union you see today, couple changes. They didn't get everything done that they wanted to, but they were adding a student union. I believe they were adding some more business here on the southeast side of campus, and they were going to fill out the bowl of what is now World War I Memorial Stadium. So what is now just still that little horseshoe was going to be filled out completely as a bowl, and they were going to just buy into that being the full stadium. I found that really interesting because half the plans that they had in there never came to fruition. But this year, President Linton announces the new master plan, and within the next 10 to 15 years, if everything gets done, it is going to be it's going to be a very different campus, right? Namely, the big things, Anderson Hall is going to have porch fronts put back on it like it had in 1904. There are pictures of it with porch fronts in those Royal Purple yearbooks. Go check them out. As well as the Kedzie Shift. Kedzy's going to become a one-stop shop for a lot of different things. The VA, PowerCat Financial. There are a lot of very useful things that are a little bit tucked away on campus. Another floor people don't know about is the third/fourth floor of the Union, where PowerCat Financial is. There's only one staircase to get to it. So there are a lot of these things that stay hidden on campus that aren't advertised enough that are going to be put in one place, as well as they're going to basically not let cars go in front of Anderson anymore, and they're building kind of a student walkway, almost plaza in front of Anderson Hall. Those are the big things that I noticed. What are some of your thoughts hearing those things, and maybe your thoughts on aesthetically how they would look on campus, or the usefulness of something like the Kedzie Shift?
Yeah, absolutely. We had the privilege of attending the State of Our University speech that Linton gave on September 5th, I believe. And that's where he kind of introduced this plan to all of the alumni and students that were in attendance of that specific speech. And I think that the concept was really, really cool to get to kind of see up front and presented. I know that there are a lot of really fun and like unique shifts that are coming. Personally, I'm the most excited to see. I believe he said there was going to be a creek added across all of campus, which I think was going to be really fun. Obviously, as all of us sitting in here, we won't necessarily be here to see it, but that doesn't mean we can't come back.
Hey, I'll be, I could foresee myself being a season ticket holder to this great university. All right.
Go.
And I would love to walk that creek. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
It would be great, Josh, what were some of your thoughts on the master plan, and maybe some of your favorite aspects to the changes coming to the university?
Yeah, I don't know if I had a specific favorite aspect. I do like the idea of Anderson Hall. I feel like that's kind of one of the big forefronts of the university. Any kind of picture you see Anderson Hall, which I think is awesome. I also really like the idea of nothing really starts or changes without an idea. So I think that's always really important to have some kind of guide or vision going forward, which I think is really important with a university like this.
Right. And I brought up the Royal Yearbook stuff because I found it really interesting. And I mentioned that not everything got done, and that was just because, I think back then they didn't necessarily have the resources. But this current time of K-State, it's a new era. There's a lot of money in this university and a very good donor base. So I think that there is a very good chance that all of the things coming to fruition do get done. And I think Anderson was the one that I was the most interested in. Putting porch fronts back on Anderson Hall, I think, is an incredibly interesting choice. What intrinsic value do you see in having those porch fronts? Or what do you want to see done with maybe the fronts of Anderson?
Yeah, I think that, like Josh kind of mentioned, Anderson Hall is, some would argue, kind of the heart of our university. When you search K-State, it's the first thing that pops up. And I think that it's not utilized, or students aren't really in it often. And I think that putting those porch fronts in front of it is going to allow students to feel more connected to it, which is exactly what we want, because I think kind of in concept, Anderson is a little bit of the heart, but I think the students are kind of like the blood that flow through all the different places and the different things. And
Quote
I
that.
think getting to see the students really be in that area and appreciate Anderson for what it is and what it represents is going to be astronomical for creating the family aspect that this university still holds and will hopefully continue to hold as we do all these changes and make this plan.
Yeah. And, I talking with Kylie and Cooper last week, we talked a lot about the loss of Frisbee culture and how people just don't be outside like they used to be, right?
Right.
But with this new kind of courtyard situation going in front of Anderson, you do lose a big plot in Anderson Lawn, which I love Anderson Lawn, but I also see the potential value of making a walkable campus even more walkable. What do you guys kind of see, or what do you guys kind of hope for with what's going on in front of Anderson more than just the porch fronts?
I think one thing that I'm hoping for, I don't know if this answers your question, but I always think it's always great when people come to visit. They love the student aspect of it. Seeing students will actually walk on campus, do their day-to-day work, and just go about their lives. And I think that's kind of similar with Bosco Plaza. I think they're kind of trying to bring that aspect to the front of Anderson, which I think will really be really cool to see.
Yeah, one of the things when I took my visit here, I loved how it looked, it looked collegey is kind of the best way I can call it. You know what I mean? This campus, it's got the old limestone, all the buildings, and students were outside, and they still are. I shouldn't act like, everyone's hermited. A lot of people are outside, but get outside more, guys. We need to throw a Frisbee around. And something I remember so vividly is seeing people hammock. And I don't know why that was a selling point to me. I love watching. I love just seeing.
Are you part of the hammocking club?
See, I have a hammock. I don't know how to put it up.
Oh.
So if anyone's got like a tutorial they could send me, I have it. I just don't really know what to do with it. I'm like, yeah, because I got 2 trees right outside my house. I could easily, go out there and just lay down, maybe read a book. I don't read, but watch a YouTube video. But I could easily go out there and chill. I just don't know how to put it up. So, but hammocking, another important thing to the to the outdoorsiness of this campus. You know what I mean? So, but that's what I found so interesting about this plan. I want to get to the Kedzie shift because that affects the AQ Miller School, right? Mm-hmm. There are a lot of photography stuff there, but at the same time, though that is having to shift areas, right, and not really Kedzie, besides the collegians staying in their spot, a lot of other things will have to move. You are adding prime real estate to a lot of much needed things like the VA, like Power Camp Financial. Maybe what's the value of having things there, or things like that, things of that nature?
Yeah, well, let me kind of whip back a bit to things that we know about, which is specifically the SPI office in the union. That is kind of where all of student government kind of operates out of, and there are a ton of opportunities coming out of that area. And I think seeing the Kedzie shift and seeing all these different programs getting put into this different area is going to be really interesting, specifically for student government, because I don't want people to lose being in the union, because that's where we operate out of and that's where we get to see all those students. But obviously they're going to be in different areas because of where the different utilities and programs are that they need to utilize. So I think that the shift is going to be astronomically beneficial for those specific programs that are being moved. But I would still love to see, I don't want the union to lose kind of what it is now, because that's where we operate out of, and that's where we get to see students and what they need, and where we get to help them to our best capacity.
100%. I mean, it's the middle of campus. It's in a lot of ways the heart of campus. It has a really good Chick-fil-A. There's a lot of things to love about. What's the go-to spot in the union, by the way?
Room 118 in the SBI office. It's the judicial office.
Hey, pull up. Bring them some Chick-fil-A.
Yes.
Show the hardworking people of this university that you support them with just a little 12-piece nugget combo loaded up with Chick-fil-A sauce. I always ask them to give me as much as they legally can. So if you could put that in the code of conduct, that they can give me as much as they legally want to.
Down. Yeah.
Thank you. We'll put that in the next code of conduct. The Chick-fil-A can give as much Chick-fil-A sauce as they want.
Right.
Anywho, if there was one thing, we talked a lot. Did you guys have any involvement in the master plan at all, or was it kind of just you guys were close to the people making it, but you didn't have a lot of say in it? How did that kind of come together, and was there any, what voice maybe did you play into that?
Yeah, I mean, to my knowledge, we did not have any involvement with the master plan. The first I saw it, at least, was on the State of the University. But other than that, yeah.
I was going to say, I got the privilege, again, like I said, of sitting on the top 7 last year, and then as well as the top 7 this year in student government. So when we were having breakfast at Linton's house one morning, he kind of mentioned it, and he wanted a student perspective on what we would like to see. So the previous president, vice president, and everyone that was there got the opportunity to kind of explain what we would love to see and how we would like different things to change. And I honestly think that's kind of where the idea stemmed from of Anderson in updating that. Obviously it's needed updated for a while, but getting students back on campus was a prime goal of President Linton's. And I didn't get to see the plan until it was introduced again, but I know that we all got to kind of give a little bit of student perspective, which I think is also super unique that we get to do as a student government, because there are so few student governments in the Big 12 that their faculty and their staff and their presidents and people in charge are valuing students' opinions in the way and the capacity that Kansas State does. And I think that's just something that we as student government and as the leaders of it get to utilize and capitalize on all the time and just honestly love and learn from.
Yeah, I mean that is a big part of it, is that, and that's something I think I could argue for really almost every program at K-State, if not all, is the ability to really give real world experience, because in a lot of ways you guys are actually judicialing. You guys are actually working actively on laws or conduct, really, and being involved in these hearings and stuff like that is very applicable stuff. And last week we called SGA kind of the voice for the students, right? You guys do bring the students' voice into the conversation a lot more than other students can, and in that way you guys are actual representatives, and your ability to work that closely with people like in higher positions does truly give students a chance to see the university that they want to be on, right? Not that K-State already is that, you chose to come here, but see the improvements that maybe the student base wants to see, and that's an important thing that not every place gets the luxury of.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. I think that's one of the biggest parts of SGA, and why I recommend SGA so much is if you have thoughts and ideas that you want to bring and see actually implemented, I think this is the place to be. And it's a very attainable position, and recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, 100%. If there was maybe something that you guys like, a last thing that you could kind of say to maybe promote not only SGA but just promote yourself, the university, what would it be?
My biggest thing would be student government represents the student body, but in reality, I mean, we try our best to, but in order to represent the student body, we need student involvement, and that has been down these past few years as far as voting in the presidential election and being a part of at-large committees, as well as running for Senate seats and all of that. So I would just really highly encourage the students on campus to understand that student government does things. We make changes on campus, and we get to have a say in a lot of what's going on. And I think they'd be shocked to know how much their involvement can truly influence student life and shift the way that their day-to-day looks and their classes look and all of that. And I think that I would love to see more student involvement in student government and just more people kind of voicing their opinions. That way our government body can represent our university body in the best way possible.
Guys, they're literally begging you to let them represent you. Come on, get more involved. It is a very important aspect of this campus, is letting your voice be heard, because everyone complains about parking. They can help. Maybe they can at least give you a voice. You know what I mean? Josh, what do you have to say on maybe this matter, or just other things that you want to promote or say in promotion for SGA and this community in K-State?
Yeah, I think biggest thing that when I came to K-State was the level of opportunity that's actually here on campus. If you want to get involved with something, you have a place for you. That place for me was SGA, and I think no matter where you are on campus, you will always have an opportunity to meet people, get involved, and also really have a lot of development for post-graduation. I think that's the whole point of college, and I think K-State does that like no other.
100%. That place could be Wildcat 91.9 where you belong.
Or the judicial branch.
Or the judicial branch where you belong as well. But that's the thing. I always tell people who are new to K-State, I'm like, hey, K-State is what you make of it. So if you go get involved, you will be you will be a part of the campus.
Yeah.
Full in. You'll be full on. So, but if you don't get out there, get social, it's a very friendly campus. But if you don't get out there and put the foot forward, you're never going to step. Right?
Right.
A little metaphor there. You can take that, quote that wherever you'd like. But it looks like time's winding down. It's almost noon. That means the morning has waned and faded. And that means it's the end of the SGA Weekly update. This week's update, we went judicial with it. Katie Albertson, Josh Moppin, thank you guys for joining. Go ahead, plug your socials. Give it a little plug.
Plug our socials.
Plug your socials.
Follow SGA K-State on Instagram, please. We want more followers, and that's where you can learn a lot of information about what's going on in Senate, as well as the executive branch and the judicial branch as well.
Boom. Josh?
Yeah, second that.
Second that. Well, Katie, Josh, thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. It was awesome learning more about the judicial branch, the Illuminati of the SGA, all the secrets spilled this morning. We appreciate you guys joining us this morning. We appreciate you guys for listening to Wildcat 91.9. You belong. Stick around. More good music and K-State volleyball tonight. Won't want to miss it. All that and more coming up on Wildcat 91.9. You belong.